Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts has taken exception to remarks that Attorney General Eric Holder made at yesterday's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Let's take a look at what he said.
I am concerned that the size of some of these institutions becomes so large that it does become difficult for us to prosecute them when we are hit with indications that if you do prosecute, if you do bring a criminal charge, it will have a negative impact on the national economy, perhaps even the world economy. And I think that is a function of the fact that some of these institutions have become too large.
Warren released a statement saying that, quote, Attorney General Holder's testimony that the biggest banks are too big to jail shows once again that it is past time to end too big to fail.
It's amazing, she's already been at a Senate Banking Committee hearing and made a lot of waves for having very aggressive testimony against federal regulators who have done a pretty lousy job standing up for American consumers in the years since the financial crash, particularly the OCC. And here she is taking on the Attorney General for saying something that I think everybody really kind of already knows who follows financial policy. I mean, Lanny Brewer, who is the number 2 at DOJ on the enforcement side, told PBS in a documentary, yeah, we actually have to be very careful about prosecuting banks because this could have an adverse effect on the economy, and he got a lot of flack for that. So I don't think this is groundbreaking information. But it is interesting that he's sort of being taken to task for it. And it's also interesting that the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve have been bending over backwards and hunting for any statistic they can find over the last couple of years to show that banks are no longer too big to fail and they've solved the problem. I think for the Attorney General to come up there and say, yeah, we don't think we can prosecute banks because it'll wreck the economy, really really should inform everybody what's really going on. And I think if you're in government particularly, and you're in an oversight position of the financial industry, that should be unacceptable to you, and obviously it is for Senator Warren.
Whose job would it be to break up the banks if there was the political will to break up the banks?
Well, right now, I think the only legal way to do that is if the bank is on the immediate brink of insolvency. Through Dodd-Frank, there is a new mechanism that allows the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department to just go in and actually, I'm sorry, the FDIC to dismantle these banks, as the FDIC does for much simpler banks already when a bank fails. These things can't happen. They have to happen very quickly, and they have to happen very orderly if you want to limit the damage that it does to the economy. I think it's a real open question right now that if Citigroup or Goldman Sachs were to suddenly find themselves on the brink of collapse, whether or not they would actually fail or be allowed to go through this sort of destruction process. And if I think particularly in Washington, there would be an effort to keep them from going through that. I'm almost certain. Whether or not that effort would succeed would be dependent on a lot of political factors that would be kind of arbitrary and contingent on all sorts of other political pressures. But you definitely, I think if you ask most people in the financial industry as well, would Citigroup be allowed to fail? Say tomorrow, I think you'd be really hard pressed to get a whole lot of yeses on that.